We're live, everyone.
All right, so it's 5:51. All right, so we're gonna, I guess call this meeting to order.
Yes.
All right, so I'll do a quick roll call and then we'll go from there. So if you hear your name, just say here, I present, Allison Williams, Andrea, Nicholas. Ford here, Diana, Moreno. Michael Williams.
He'll be running late.
Okay. Gotcha. Randall Thomas. Here. Sean Robinson. Here. Toya Allen. Joyce Williams. Kimberly Hughes, she said that she got something wrong.
He probably got what I had.
Melody Hartman. Eric Thompson. And Katrina Alexander. So we're at 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So
We're not in quorum.
yeah, we're not in quorum, so we can't make any decisions, but we can still have our meeting.
Yeah.
So if you look at the agenda, just going to updates for a little bit, I just wanted to cover some of the things that I think will benefit us as we move forward from our last meeting. So some of those things include items in section D. So D1, so BPFT updates. I know we talked about not saying work groups, but saying updates. So that's what that will be for. Then item 2, I think having a monthly area of focus will be good for us to kind of keep track of where we're going. And I'll talk a little bit about that later if it's too on conflict. And then a monthly calendar of benchmarks to kind of keep us focused on where we're heading. And then a community call to action. I know that we have public comment, but really what do we want the community to do for us, with us, by us? So I think that will be important, especially since we're being recorded and then the public to see if they haven't participated yet. So I just wanted to just point out those things, and I think that that's something that we can continue to add to the agenda. We don't have to have it in the bylaws or anything like that. It's just something I think will be standard across the board. Because just keep us on track. What are your thoughts? What do you think?
I think it's pretty good.
Cool. I like it. Cool. So the next section, we talked about unfinished business. We talked about finalizing the bylaws. The last time we were here on the 29th of October, we talked about any last minute updates to the bylaws. We approved those bylaws, and the bylaws are bylaws. So if you haven't got the updated bylaws and email yet, you will get those electronically. So we'll have that for you all. But that's going to be our book that we'll move forward with. Let me know if you have any questions that we continue forward. Some foundational review items. I know the last time we talked about some of the things that we need for us to move forward as a collective. So we talked about receiving data. We talked about what types of violence are we going to focus on. We also talked about who we plan to collaborate with, whether it's organizations or individuals, and then also any questions about best practices that we're talking to other organizations. So I think that's something that we still have to talk through and kind of understand where we're going with that. I don't know if it's something that we could do as far as us starting our own like Google account or something like that, Misha. But I think that that's something that we could discuss so we can make sure that we get the foundation together.
Allison. Sorry, Allison. Not Joyce, Allison.
Thank you. Yeah, so I just wanted to talk about that for a moment. And I know last time we talked about the different platforms that we wanted to use for any type of documents or any type of items that we wanted to use to kind of collect information. And then we also talked about some type of calendar of events. So I don't know if we're able to create I'm not sure if we're able to create our own Google account for all of us, or.
So yes, we did have a conversation to see if we can, if I was allowed to share the Entrepreneur Task Force, Google Google account, but I'm not, so they said that we should just create our own.
Okay,
And then we can, I guess, have people who monitor it or however we want to go about that.
okay. All right, so then what we will do, if everyone is in a collective, we could see about creating a Google account. I could create it or Cam could create it. Or make sure, I don't know if you might be the best person to create it, but anyway, goes
Okay.
having you at least in the back end, in case someone transitions off or what have you. And then that way we can utilize Google Docs to put all of our information and that type of thing in, and then go from there. And then that will cover all those things.
So what's the reasonable timeline to have that, account created?
Tomorrow. I'm only saying, no, it doesn't have to be tomorrow, maybe by Thursday.
Okay,
I'm just thinking about, because the sooner that we're able to get it, the better, that we can just start putting stuff in there, and then everybody can look at all the stuff that we have, and go from there.
so is this Google account, password information we share amongst the group or amongst the, who's gonna have access?
I'm thinking that the secretary should have access, definitely. But I don't necessarily think that everybody needs to have access to the account to get the emails, but I think everybody has access to the Google documents that we put in. I think that would be good. What do you all think? I think from the back end, I think Cam maybe, since she's the secretary, she could be a first point of contact, and then go from there.
Since we're on email, can we kind of tie into the importance of email? Like, you get back to me when I email everybody?
Oh, yes. So I know that you had seen some correspondence from Renisha, that came out last week, a few weeks ago. I think we have to kind of start figuring out how we're going to respond, what is the expectation of responding, and then making sure that email is the best form of contact for everybody, because it may not be, because everybody may not just be on the computer all day. So maybe that's something that we could talk about, but I'm thinking that the expectation is to possibly look at our emails on a daily basis, just in case something comes out. But also I want to see about sending something out as far as best point of contact, which could be, I don't know, phone through text or through email or what have you, and then go from there. And then maybe that's something that we could also have Kim to do or I could do and send it out, so we can have more than one method point of contact.
I think that's ideal, but I do think that emails to me is just more secure. You know what I mean? Because I typically do. Everyone has their own way. I text some people, I call some people, I email some people, but certain things I can't text and certain things I can't talk on the phone about. So emails is just the best way to wrap around everything. More specifically about the meeting with Victor Sanders. I definitely know everyone has their own thing going on, which is I just want to be accommodating to you guys and to them. But, just if you're not able to make it, it's okay, just respond so I have a response instead of just waiting days, you know what I mean? So, if you can just check it, if you can't do it, hey, I can't do it, just a response, any response is a response to me, and that would be greatly appreciated. So although I do think that, kind of seeing what everyone's best contact method is cool, but we definitely do need to check our emails or respond. However, I think within a week, I think I should be like.
But there's something that can't wait a week.
So like.
Say 1 to 2 days.
Yeah, I would say.
Okay, so like
yeah.
what's today?
48 hours. But then I'm also thinking, so for example, like this past correspondence that came out, it was really, what are you all available? So I think that that's something that could easily go out in some type of platform or something like that. I know that there's, shout me out, I know that there's some platforms that's collective. Yeah, I know the Doodle.
I mentioned Survey Monkey last week, and I forget who I was sitting next to. They had also mentioned another one. But there are a number of different platforms.
Yeah, Doodle is
Yeah.
mostly availability, but I know that
What was
there's Doodle, like Doodle. But I know that there's some apps where we can come together as a group and group chat and stuff like that. When we need to.
Oh, what's that?
I know
WhatsApp,
Teams is pretty good too, right? Teams
Team meet, yeah.
or
Yeah.
what's that?
But I
That's the most
think
common
Teams
one.
you have to pay for, I believe.
Yeah, I think they do have a
Yeah.
subscription, yeah, because we just ran.
Unless you're part of the organization.
Right, and we still have to pay through Team.
Oh.
Yeah, Yeah.
For me, it's free. We used to have a department like we used to hold union.
Yeah.
I used it with, some of my youth leaders in my program, so I can contact the kids and we can put in like polls and bring some sort of, do that.
Okay, so it looks like that maybe we can kind of play around with Doodle Poll for scheduling and then possibly GroupMe or WhatsApp for just like instant message type of things. You use WhatsApp also?
I
Yeah.
used it,
Thank you.
in the past, but I use it more often now.
Okay.
I think, what's that, we can actually call on that.
You can make calls and FaceTime or
Yeah,
WhatsApp.
yeah.
Mhm. You can do it as a group, set it up as a group too.
So well, first of all, are you all open to doing something like that where all of us kind of come together as a group? And then kind of start sending messages, obviously not the confidential stuff.
Yeah.
Confidential stuff, it will be, send your email, because I send your email, and then we'll check our emails, but maybe something like that. Y'all know.
I think just to kind of go based on that, just, people not overusing that, you know what I mean? Like just writing people, or things that happen, and like, I think we should be accommodating to everyone's time.
Yeah.
And not overload everyone with just random messages, I
Yeah.
think that's definitely important.
Yeah.
Just sticking to important things, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so people don't put us on do not disturb.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so.
Right, either, it's just,
Yeah.
just sending stuff, like, it makes you not want to check it, right? So,
Yeah, okay, so it looks like those two platforms that we're gonna kind of move forward with and go from there. So that means that someone needs to start it, and whoever has everyone's number and information.
so I can start, I can start the email, I can start all three of those things. by
Okay.
Thursday.
So you know, just figure out what you're gonna go with.
Yeah, let's see, I can.
Well, I think we all said WhatsApp is probably better,
Okay, sorry.
and then Doodle Poll for the schedule.
You said do the poll?
If I'm not mistaken, WhatsApp might also have like a poll kind of situation within
They
the app.
do?
Oh,
Yeah.
is it? Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm not.
Okay, so then-
That at all, okay.
So then maybe we
Yeah,
can
it's
start
pretty
WhatsApp
good.
and see.
I got it. We can, like,
I
especially
we
like-
used it for kickball and like, even for attendance purposes, it was helpful, like,
Okay.
depending on how many games.
So that's good, we can just have one, so what's that it is, okay?
And then as far as, I just want to make sure before we move on, as far as the Google account, you're just setting it up, and then one of us is going to like go in and put the different folders with the different folders and all
So
that.
I'll set it up and then, I guess we can just go back to our email chain that we have and we can decide who wants to do what or who has time for what, you know, kind of just do it that way. Or just suggestions or however we want to, go further with that.
Okay, and you can, and I'm sure Cam is open to it as the secretary, you can add me to, if you need to, whatever, you do, because it's all,
I was gonna just respond back to the email. You got me, Melanie, Kim in that email, right?
Yep.
So I was just gonna go back to that email.
Alright. Any other things for any of the foundational items that we talked about last time, or anything else that we need to discuss from any other meetings?
Foundation, items. I do want to go ahead and talk about the schedule going forward from December. And how we want to, I don't know if this would be best with just all of us or we should wait, but we got one meeting until the new year. And kind of talk about preference, like the library has been giving me issues, everyone is aware, you know, so, I don't know if people are okay with meeting in chambers, if you wanna start having conversations about that, just other meeting locations.
Mayor's conference room.
Or the mayor's conference room, so if you wanted to start having those conversations to see if it's comfortable for everyone, if that's doable.
You want to put that under new business category?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna add, location under new business, and then also approval of minutes, that to the new business also. Any other questions, comments, concerns, or thank you? All right, budget review. So there's an attachment that, Renisha, had printed out for all of us based on our budget that we have. As you all know, our budget is $25,000. As you all know, our budget, right now is $25,000, and that's for us to kind of start off how we want to start off with this task force, and then the hope is for us to get more funds as we continue along. So just breaking it down, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page as far as these items. I have supplies and materials, 13,500, so that's 50%. Now, as you know, when we had divided this up, it was divided based on the focus. So, policy and resources, outreach and engagement, and their education. But I think based on this is aligning with the city of Albany's
Yeah.
budget items.
So what I did was, everyone sent me their budget. I had to just kind of, fit everyone's budget within those 3 categories to be able to submit it to the council for them to approve it. So I just kind
Yeah.
of put everything into where they belong, and that's where I came up with that. So I think it's actually
Yeah.
26,000, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, yeah, I just want to make sure everybody was on the same page, because when you look at it, it's not divided into those 3 focuses, it's divided that aligns with the city of Albany's, budget items. So we have supplies and materials, that's 50% of the budget, 13,500. We have education materials, the brochures, flyers, et cetera, 3,000. Any community resources that we have or that we come up with, 2,500. Community engagement tools, so any type of workshop, presentation equipment, and so on, that's 3,500. Promotional items, t-shirts, banners, et cetera, 3,500, and then administrative costs, printing, office supplies, and so forth. So that's 13,500. Then we have contracted services. These are some of the things that we talked about probably 2 meetings ago. So professional training, so any type of workshops or seminars, 6,000, and then consulting services for program development. I know we had conversations about utilizing resources in-house, but we also talked about the possibility of using resources externally. So we budgeted for 4,000. And then miscellaneous is any additional items, that's 10%, which is 2,500. Any type of travel expenses that's needed, so that's 2,000, and then any type of unexpected expenses, which is 500. Any questions, comments, concerns, considerations, anything to add, essentially take off, switch, update?
Which would, the final budget goes to them tomorrow, so if anybody has any concerns, let me know so I can go in and edit it before the council sees it tomorrow at 5.
All right, so, yeah, get back to Alicia. Then maybe it might be good for us to send an email, after, since this is something, since everybody's not here possibly. But I think we're all on the same page with a lot of these things, because we talked about it quite some time ago. All right, so, new business, I just wanna make sure that we approve the minutes from October 29th. And we can't approve it because we don't have quorum. So we just have these minutes here until our next meeting. So moving forward from that, so I guess you all can take a look at those minutes. One of the things that we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be sending out, minutes well ahead of time, similar to when Renisha has to get her agenda items together. So that's typically a week before this meeting. So every other Tuesday is when Renisha has to get her agenda and her minutes out. So she's gonna be sending that out to all of us. But we also have responsibility as far as giving her the draft agenda items, making sure that those are okay for us to move forward with. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. So we'll wait for us to approve that when we have quorum. Maybe I could jump to location since that was something that you wanted to add. So, I guess 2 options, I guess chamber, or you said the city of the.
Mayor.
There's
Is
a
there-
conference room that is very easier to like keep up with a lot of this stuff too. They're both in City Hall. So we're really-
Okay. Either or works for me.
Does either or have, technology that we can utilize So for example, if we want to do presentations or have presentations up, that type of thing, does it have the technology to do that?
I know the Chambers does, I'm not sure if it's, oh, so yes.
Okay, cool, because I was just thinking about, as we started developing our foundation, looking at how we're gonna present information, what that looks like, and then kind of looking at some of that stuff here, or within our, within our groups or what have you, so. Okay, does anyone have a preference? Is there any issue with parking or anything like that?
Well, for both of the rooms at City Hall, I don't think parking will be an issue because it's after 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
So we should,
Gotcha,
it will be street parking.
gotcha, okay. Does anyone have a preference as to which location? All right, so I don't know, how do you wanna,
Should we
I mean, I don't think-
wait till the other?
No.
right, but I don't, do we have to necessarily make a motion for this, or? do we-
No, we don't.
Like, how many people live in that? There's like a large table that folks can sit around, and there's supplemental seating on the outskirts. The only thing is that sometimes it is booked, so maybe we can choose one, and in the event that
Yeah.
it's booked, you use the other.
So I think we can come up with a schedule, and then based on the schedule, I can go in and look and see, we probably could just alternate, because our meetings sometimes can conflict with the, council's meetings as well, so that might, we might be going back and forth between, the mayor's conference room and the chambers. So I think if we create a schedule, or we can kind of go from there, and then I can just plug it in, and then send out emails accordingly.
Yeah, well, so I think we have our decision, we're gonna do both.
Okay,
Yeah, and then we'll just come up with a schedule as we get closer to the date. And we're talking about January for this, right?
yes,
Okay. So we still have
we have one more meeting left.
Yeah.
So my fear is, like this again, you get what I mean? Like, I don't want it to get to December and then, we have a meeting like this, and then I'm fighting through emails to get everybody to respond, or to, coordinate schedules and get everything out, because the council does want to know in advance about the meetings as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we want to start the discussion now, and then we can allow it to linger to the next meeting, and if it's the same thing, and we come up with a decision the next meeting. Maybe we can kind of do that.
Yeah, I don't, and this doesn't necessarily be a formal to do this.
No, not to
There's
this
also
schedule.
another option, sorry, at 200 Henry Johnson Boulevard, it's the Neighborhood and Community Services
Mhm.
folks. They have a large conference room upstairs, that is often used for meetings, I don't know if anybody was like involved in that use group, but.
Well, Tabora is, because she's over the
Right.
West Hill meeting.
So I think that could be another option in the event that, and they have a parking lot there. I don't know what their off hours are like, for after.
I have a contact, I can follow up.
It's always been, I literally book it all the time.
They have a fenced in office now, every month.
Yeah.
There's like 500 cameras.
Okay.
So that's not really anything else. And they also have the technological capabilities upstairs.
Okay. That's an option, so we have 3 options, just in case. I also wanted to mention that the council did suggest that, instead of having meetings to accommodate everyone, instead of having meetings twice a month, that we go to once a month. I think we in discussed that, tell me again how you wanted to position the working.
No, I was just saying, because, that's the reason for these other items.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
If we have a meeting once a month, that means that we have to be focused on what we need to do, and we have to produce and provide updates. And then also thinking about the groups that we are focusing on right now, and what does that mean? Are we still planning on meeting with our separate groups and doing those things? But then also thinking about, there's gonna be events that's gonna be happening where people are also gonna be active with those things too. So, just think about how we're gonna balance all of this, but being mindful that as we move forward, there's gonna be things that's gonna come up as far as events and other things that we're gonna do.
So I would prefer the working groups to remain the same, and then we move our general meetings to once a month. But like I said, I'm not on the task force. It's what you guys prefer, because, we have to, work together, so this can be open for discussion.
Yeah, maybe we can discuss that, because if we're talking about once a month, we have to decide what day of the month we're gonna do.
Yes.
any preferences. In my opinion, I prefer to keep it with one of these days that we already have already, which is the Tuesday, I don't know if it could be a Tuesday or what have you, but Tuesday or Thursday, since we are already meeting on those days anyways. But think about which one we want to do, which day of the, or which week of the month.
So third Tuesday, second Tuesday, I'm not too sure, like what,
I'll go with the third Tuesday and then focus on our goals the majority of the time, and then use our working groups to check up on each other, making sure we're doing that.
cause, even though we split for our working groups, we can also come, no, we can't, cause that's a quorum, we can't, so, never mind, forgot that.
What are you going to say?
Who made the suggestion that we go to Buckingham?
The council.
I mean, typically,
Why was that?
typically task force or boards meet once a month.
We have really tight timeline. I'm just curious, like,
Yeah.
what prompted that maybe? Because I wasn't gonna say anything, but I had a message from the council member asking if we even met yet. So I don't know why anyone would be concerned we were meeting too much.
What council member you wanna?
I'll tell you later.
I'm not.
And I was
They
like,
watching.
I'm not like, so this, and I've been waiting on this, and here I'm for big time. Because I'm sitting here and thinking about all the awareness we need to raise and community involvement, we're publishing the meeting, and the people we report to are like, you guys met? Yeah, sure thing. Like 10 times. I honestly said, I was like, about 10 times. Wow, and I was like, yeah. And look, I have a lot of commitments, and this is like a lot of, I feel like we're so behind, not anybody's fault, right? Like, it's like, I'm starting outlines because I'm a wreck, like, I don't wanna meet more, but I don't wanna meet less, but I wanna, if we're not meeting, I wanna be like rolling. And I don't also want to step on toes or like steamrolling, like I want to have collaboration and so on, but I'm kind of thinking like, why does anybody care?
So I think it's kind of from what I got from it, it's kind of like convenience, you know what I mean? Not only are we having issues with the library, moving old equipment from the chambers to here twice a month when it's just me,
Yeah.
it could be a little overwhelming. So it's a lot of things that play into that they're considering. And they obviously, right, so I think that they're just trying to be a little more convenient, you know what I mean? But I do get what you're saying, you know what I mean? I definitely do get what you're saying, so I don't
Not
know.
very supportive of you. To just say, yeah, do it less. Yeah, I'm sorry, that's just not very supportive of the people that you, right? Am I crazy? Am I being
No, I understand.
No,
Yeah,
no.
I completely agree.
Okay, I'll say it. You don't have to say it.
But I think I hear what you're saying. You're saying that this is, right now is not the right time for us to reduce our time because we have so much.
I'm gonna regret saying this.
So I think that he suggested, so more specifically, Tom, he's the chair of the Public Safety Committee. He's the one who made the suggestion. And I believe that, well, he initiated that suggestion and then, you know, everyone kind of tagged on to that. But, from my knowledge, what he told me was, meet less now and as we get closer, meet a little bit more. But like I said, they're just trying to be accommodating not only to myself, to everyone else, you know, people who aren't here, people who can't make it. So that's what I think that they were doing. I don't think there was a specific reason why they're like, just meet less, you guys have a lot to do. I don't think that they meant that by, you know.
No, I'm just curious, what was the driver of that?
I was gonna say, by us meeting once a month and still, you know.
Well, we can meet once a month and have our meetings longer as well too. Like that can be open for discussion, you know what I mean? Especially if we're opening up the chambers and, the mayor's conference room. We don't have that 8 p.m. cutoff time as we do in, the library, you know what I mean? So maybe that can be an option, like instead of our 2-hour meeting, we can move it to 3 hours or, I don't know, however, it's just, you know.
You were gonna say something.
Yeah, I was just saying that as far as our once a month, you know, we meet once a month, we still meet in our working group, so that way if something important is coming up, we have that way to discuss it. And then maybe, you know, the person who's taking everything back to Ramisha, you know, she comes and we get a summary of what's happening in each working group, what's going on. So I feel like the working groups will definitely still help us if we did cut back, because we're working with our team still to get out whatever it is that we're trying to do. Like for me, I'm an outreach team, so things that we're trying to do, we can continue to do them. And still, we have like, you know, chats and stuff, so I just feel like everybody should do that in a working group. And then
Yeah, I agree.
bring
I
it
agree
back.
with that. I think that we should all do work with our working groups and then we come back once a month. That's just the check-in time.
Yeah, the majority of the work doesn't happen here, it happens
Right, it
outside.
happens
here, so
outside
that's-
here, so.
Something that
once a
might be
month.
helpful for y'all too is to set like deadlines and goals.
Mhm.
So like, you can do the work in your working group, and you know that by the time you come back to your next meeting, you're all going to have come to the table with the need for decisions on
Right.
these.
Yeah.
So giving yourself a timeline on when you want to have certain things done and figured out by might alleviate some of your stress.
And that's just having a date. That's just having a date.
I just don't, yeah, I want to make effective use of our time together. I don't want to put any undue stress on or unfairly on anybody for certain. I think I'm just, like I said, I'm nervous. And,
That's good.
I mean, and also with the season's about to change. I mean, we're about to get into the cold with snow and everything, so once a month, I feel will be significant for this time of the year, because twice a month, with us trying to get out to make these meetings, you know, cancellations of the weather, it's only gonna push us back anyway, so meeting with our working groups, doing Zoom meetings, we could even possibly maybe do that, you know, and I feel like those things will help us out a lot.
And we're talking about January, right?
Yes, come January.
Yeah, because to your point, I think that there's a few options. You know, we could continue to have our meeting until January, or we could meet once in person, once on Zoom. That will take away a lot of the.
So we can't meet on Zoom generally unless we open it to the public. So that's the only,
Right.
we have to open it all, we can't open it to the public meeting, we're opening it to anywhere in the world. That's the public, you know what I mean? And all of our houses.
Okay, so then it seems like a more realistic option is to do, what you said, Allison, which is have our once a month meetings and then have our focus meetings as much as we need to.
But I also
With goals.
do know that, I probably would need clarification, but I know that if you do have a public meeting and you kind of close it to executive session, the public doesn't have to be in that meeting, so I can ask, but I'm not sure if we can maybe have a shorter meeting and just have it in executive session, so it's within us and we can do that over Zoom. So
Yeah.
that's
if you
not,
look at
because I
that,
know,
Because I think that may be some concern is just a touch point with this group, just to make sure that, you know, we're staying focused on what we need to do and just keeping track of what they have.
But we would have to get the reason on the section.
we was,
And just, oh,
but it wouldn't have to be approved, it would just be whatever our reason is.
Right.
Randall, just what you were saying, like, all this work usually is done outside of here.
Yeah.
So when we schedule our Zoom meetings or our chats or whatever we do with our group, this is where most of the work is done, right? So then coming that once a month thing, with this place, basically, like I already said, it's just for decision.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
The work should happen in the working group.
But I think this meeting is also to keep us on track, you know, just because I know, well, I don't know, but it can kind of get a little crazy, you know, you have different people in work groups with different ideas, you know, this group, but it keeps us on track and it keeps us together, you know what I mean, instead of outreach doing this and, you know, I think it is important to have these groups, you know, obviously the work is done outside of these groups, but I think our general meetings are just as important, you know what I mean? Because it keeps us on track as a whole. It keeps the community informed as well, you know, as to what we're doing, what we're thinking, what we're saying. So So, but I don't see an issue with once a month. I do get what you're saying. I think that's a really good point. And I guess we can see how we can kind of go around that.
I mean, even if the meetings are 3 hours, I mean, we have to put an hour for this topic and an hour, you know, as long as we break it down and cover all bases.
Would it extending the meeting an additional hour be something that would that be doable for people? No?
So what time is, usually we're getting late on, before that, so what time do it run, like now, 2 hours? Hour and a half?
Just about.
Just about 2 hours. So, I mean, it should be covered, because I know when you work for 8 hours and then you gotta come for an additional, 3 hours, that's a lot.
So what
That
about,
work.
so basically we're saying that there's one meeting a month that we're trying to take off, basically, because we meet 4 times a month, for the most part. generally. So maybe what about turning that as not necessarily a meeting like this, but why don't we have it as a collective focus meeting? Like for everyone to come together as opposed to being broken out into those different, work groups. Why don't everybody come together and have that working meeting together, collaboratively?
Because it's the quorum issue. You know what I mean? You mean like
Not having a meeting, having a work group.
any privacy or anything you have when there's more than 8 people of the task force, they consider it a quorum. So you can say a meeting, you can say a group, however you say it. If it's, like, for example, I can't even send out emails to 4 people on the council because anything can be considered a quorum. I have to BCC people because, how it's looked at. So no matter what we call it, if it's at that number, we can't.
I think what's not could probably improve attendance, as you know, that you're.
Yeah, I think so.
Showing up once a month, if we hopefully, maybe more people in seats here, I think probably is just a lot.
And I also think that maybe we can, I don't want to say put pressure because that sounds weird, but I think, if we do keep our working groups, when we get out in working groups, we can stress the importance of attending that once a month meeting, you know what I mean? Those constant reminders, because you're meeting Zoom, you're meeting, virtually with people. So it's like, hey, do you know the group? Do you know the group? Are you guys, like this constant reminder of that group in that meeting. Just so, because I can call out the text, I can email. Sometimes you forget, you know what I mean? Like, we're human, it's life. So I think, once you have those encounters with people, maybe us as a whole, we can just send out those reminders like, hey,
I mean, we'll have the Google account too, to remind people.
They do not look at that.
I know they don't. We need to find, I agree, find that pressure.
We have to streamline because, it's a
Thank you. I can
huge
choose my
document that I don't think was like clearly and transparently discussed before we agreed to be a part of this task force. So I think, whatever way that we can trim the fat a little bit to make it feel less overwhelming.
Yeah. And I think that's where they got that idea from, just what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I agree. The nudge, I'm sorry.
No. I didn't think so. Important too.
You're not giving some more information?
No, it's good, and it kind of goes into the monthly areas of focus, because I think in the beginning, we talked, we had our conversation, we threw everything kind of in, and just talked about it, but I think structuring it a little bit, so we know, I believe, May, is it, to where we have to submit a budget and those type of things, or is it April?
April.
April?
But they did give me until May, but I don't know May.
Yeah,
It's April.
yeah.
Like, really?
Stay.
Yeah,
Okay.
April.
Yeah, so we know that we have an overall benchmark to have a final report, a budget, and then we know we have to do work in between. So I'm just thinking about how many months we have from now until then to kind of structure it to where we have months for certain things. I feel like this month will be continuing on with our foundation, getting the email stuff together, getting how we're gonna do our work. I'm thinking that December could be more of our analysis and our planning, so looking at the data and looking at how we want to plan things out. And then setting up those benchmarks for implementation in January, and then going from there, and then always reporting out outcomes, our benchmarks, and any type of reporting stuff for all those months, so we get to April, which is developing that final report and then the budget stuff.
So I agree. I also wanted to add, I know, I believe like when we first started having meetings, I sent in the previous report that the task force submitted a couple years ago. I can't remember from which year. But I wanted to know, I don't know if we would rather do this within our working groups or generally, us taking a look at that, like really taking a look at that and actually structuring our meetings and our working groups around creating, I don't know, templates or just so we know, I think Valerie said it last time, you know, like, so we're actually doing things accordingly. We're not scrambling to April
Yeah, it's
to kind of put everything together, you know, just so everyone has a job. So that month, whatever you guys been doing, it's already put in a report. You know what I mean? We're just kind of moving forward. I don't know if I'm making sense.
No, you're
Yeah.
making sense. We're just having this conversation, me and I was actually having this conversation, because looking at some type of template or some type of baseline to start this report and then just build off of it.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
taking a deep dive into that report. I know that report is extremely long.
Oh, I read
It's really long. I know it's really long. And I'm not saying it don't have to be that long, you know, that's just what they submitted, but
it. That's why I sent you the one from Philadelphia,
Mhm.
8 pages.
yeah.
Like, so it could be that.
I think that was in like 20.
But at the end of the day, that thing is massive and
Yeah.
and everything. And I did, I went through it, broke it out, I sectioned, like, I nerded out on it. And I think we have to keep in mind, it's not just a report, it's a proposal. So we have to sell it, you know, and I actually, if you're interested, I have a graphic design marketing friend who will polish it up, who will do anything we want for free. He's very brilliant, talented, very high level, very kind, wonderful person. You know, but we have to sell it.
Mhm.
So no one's gonna read it and approve 80,000 pages if they don't even know we're meeting.
Mhm.
So I think a little
I agree.
a little bit of like to make it really quick, to the point, very factual, very like, and sell it as well, and really publicize it ahead of time to put pressure on for it to move. That would be my
I agree.
strategy from, I'm not in, this is my first time in something like this, but I do know how to sell something in business. And I do know how to put it together, and to have it make sense also, so it makes sense financially, it makes sense strategically, and that it follows a good, like,
Yeah.
and this is what we want. And that's how my mind works.
Yeah, I think because this is kind of, so to speak, the first go around with a lot of this stuff. I know that this task force has been around for a while. But depending on what audience you're talking about, so there's audiences who want detail, and then there's some who want straight to the point, and then there's some who want 5 minutes of your time. So possibly seeing how we could have a blueprint to kind of set the tone for others going forward. So that means we might make it a little bit lengthier. But for the purpose of submission, having the condensed version. And then also, we want to present some of this stuff publicly so we can put it in a presentation form also, and then have that as a, as a point of reference for whoever we put this information in. So I think all three of those things will be great, but I think having a collaborative effort, I think will be important. So,
Is it fair to say without going too far? Because we have a report and a proposal. So the report is the report.
yeah, I think we have to have both.
Yeah,
Because we
I agree.
talk about having a report and a proposal.
You have a compilation and you do the report. And you should do the activities, you do the stuff, what we found, what we, like ongoing work and progress, and then the proposal would be basically like your executive summary of what we want to approve.
Yeah,
Then everything else is supposed to be the other.
Right. because if we're talking about a budget, we have
So
to
why
have a
can't that go
proposal.
into one?
Well, I think comprehensively it'll go into one, but I think when you're presenting it to the city or what have you, it will be the proposal of the budget. I think we're saying the same thing. I think we're just talking about 3 different documents.
Because I, again, I'm not in government, you guys can slap me on the hand. I don't know how the hell you implement a 300-page report.
I don't think it will be that long.
It could be implemented.
Yeah.
But like, how do you mobilize people? Like, I know how to take a business plan and tell them this is what you want to accomplish, and this is the timeline, and this is my budget, and then take it to a team and go live. I wouldn't know how to start with anything there.
Yeah, and I think it's based off of, I think really it's a matter of all of the activities and efforts that we do
Yeah.
from here on until we submit this. That's what it will consist of. We just have to package it in a way to where, you know, it gets to the point it's not overwhelming, but then it's enough detail for things to be justified. Yeah, so I think we're saying the same thing. I think that there's a comprehensive document, a brief document, a high-level document, and then some type of presentation that summarizes all of it. And then obviously we know that we are going to want to submit some type of budget with whatever proposal that we have, and then go from there.
We sound very ambitious. I think we should start with like a table of contents to iron out. We already started it. Exactly what we would like to cover in the
Yeah.
final report, and I think like, let's start.
Build on that.
Yeah, because hearing 3 different.
Thank
Yeah, 'cause
I was confused until you started talking about how to mobilize. So in that table of contents, are we talking about what's gonna be done, or when you put table of contents, we talk about,
So I don't think we should, this is not my personal opinion, I don't think we should spend a lot of time on the need for this. There's a reason that we're here, and the need has already been established. So I don't think we should belabor all kinds of statistics, and so I think it should be included, right?
Right.
But I don't think we have to prove a case that there's an issue, that, yeah. And then we would outline again, what is our mission, what are our goals, what are our strategies and approaches, basically, and then direction for implementation, with identifying which groups would partner with us in what way, which resources would partner with us in what we're proposing we would do with the police, what we would be proposing would happen in different departments across the city. We have to list who those partners are and how you're going to work together. You have to have a process for ongoing community involvement. You can't just like say, this is what we, like recommendations. Okay, this is a proposal. This is a proposed plan that somebody can adopt, one step or not, or the whole thing. And that's why I'm saying more concise and structured it goes together, the better chances I think it has, right? Because whatever we put together, we're going to believe in. We're going to believe is the best thing that we know of today, right? And it might be less is more at this point because we have so many months.
Yeah,
We
it
can't
doesn't have to
tackle
look
it.
like the first one. The first one was literally, like, it was comprehensive because it was the first one. So they kind of laid the foundation. We're picking up from there. So where are we starting from? What do the statistics look like today? And what's our plan moving forward? I think over complicating that first report and trying to model that, that's too much.
I agree.
I agree, we should simplify it and focus on what we're trying to do today. You know, like, what are the streets saying today? You know, what are the data saying today? And, because that's what we're focusing on.
Yeah.
Everything before, that's already been laid out.
It's a lot too. I think it was.
Yeah, absolutely, it was a lot.
I think it was a lot. That's why, again, I'm
It
pushing
was
for
more
something
statistical,
more
it was
succinct.
more statistical.
And it also was the first thing ever, you know what I mean? So they want to be heard, you know, so that's how I see it, you know what I mean? So, I don't want to do a report that long, I'm sure no one else does, because, you know,
Yeah, because who's reading it?
right, you know, and then we're repeating it, and then, you know,
Yeah.
things like that have to be repeated and things like that, so you want people to, you want to get the point, you know what I mean? So I definitely agree, but I definitely agree with Melody when she said, kind of create that table of contents and build from that. I think that was the best.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to go.
I agree.
I got a question. So the report is from last year?
The report is going to be based on.
No, I mean the implementation, that report that was done, that was sent.
Oh, it was done, if I'm not mistaken, I believe in 2019, 2020. I will have to go back and check, but it was a few years ago.
Okay.
It was maybe around 2020.
Okay,
That's when that report was done.
okay. So that was like, that was the implementation task force?
That was the Violence Prevention Task Force, the first ever Violence Prevention Task Force.
Okay, in the task force before there, what was,
That was the first task force, that report.
okay.
What you mean? Am I?
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
one-
I'm like, wait, am I?
There was one that went back, and then they had an implementation team. And so I was trying to figure out what, I knew of the one a couple of years ago.
Oh, I'm not sure. The only
Okay.
ones that I know about and that I have information on was the one that I sent out. Anything else from there?
Because they had one, they did have one some years ago before the one in 2019.
Oh, I'm not sure. I didn't get any, I only sent the information that I
Yeah.
got. So I don't know. I can only talk about what I sent out. I'm not sure. Are you talking about when you were on?
Yeah,
I'm not, what year was that from?
that was 07.
Oh, yeah, I don't have no information on that. I don't even.
Yeah. And then they had an implementation team. That's what I'm saying, they had an implementation team right after that. And that was- Right, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. This is like, okay, so right after that, they had an implementation team that I was not a part of that. But I know they had an implementation team. Huh?
It's good to have that history.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. They had that, and I don't know what happened to that, but then it was some years that just was spaced until the one in 2019.
Yeah, I don't even think anyone in City Hall that was there from that time. So I'm not sure who I can get that information
Oh, no,
from.
they were all county council pretty much, got new members, but it was some of the same members there.
Oh, I'm not
Corey
sure.
Ellis, he wasn't the president then, he was the council member.
I mean, you were there, so you can definitely give us some insight, right? You can definitely.
It was just more so, it wasn't community members, it was just more so police, clergy, politicians, lawyers
Oh, on the task force?
on the task force.
Oh, okay, on the task force.
On the task
And did you
force.
guys develop a report from there?
And it was a report done from there. And then from there, it was an implementation team, so now they started to implement stuff that was in the report. And here we are again.
Yeah, to go through like different iterations of these